Hey, this is Mr. Warden. This is Algebra Do Now 32.3, and here's your video key. So what would be something you would add to both sides of x squared plus 4x minus 7 equals 14 to make this left side a perfect square? That could be factors x plus 2 squared. Well, there's two ways to think about this. One is to figure out what x plus 2 squared is, and that's going to be x squared plus 2x plus 2x plus 4. So that's 2x plus 2x is 4x plus 4. So you want this to become x squared plus 4x plus 4. The other way to think about it is just to take this number, the 4, find half of it, and square half of it. And that's what this number needs to become. So the last term of that needs to become half of 4 squared. So half of 4 squared is 2 squared, so that's going to be 4. So that's what it needs to become. And that's what we got doing this. Okay, so we need to figure out what we would add to this to make it that there. So what would we add to both sides? Well, to get -7 to become a 4, we need to add 11. We need to add 11 to both sides, and so that'll become x squared plus 4x plus 4, which will equal 25. And so if that's what you came up with, that's awesome. Now that is, of course, the same as x plus 2 squared equals 25. So we're going to get the square root of both sides of that. I'm going to make that a little bigger so we can really see what I'm doing. Okay, scroll down a little bit. So we're going to get the square root of both sides of this. That's square root there, and the square root of that. Now you get the square root of both sides. The square and the square root cancel out over here on the left, and you're left with just x plus 2. Okay, so we'll have x plus 2, and that's going to equal 5, because that's the square root of 25, but it's also going to equal -5, because -5 is another square root of 25. So we'll subtract 2 from both sides. And so x is going to equal 5 minus 2, which is 3. And x is going to equal -5 minus 2, which is -7. And that's what you get for this one. All right. Now, let's go to the next one. What is 2.5 squared? Okay, yes, you can use a calculator, but 2.5 times 2.5 is going to equal 6.25. And the way I know this is 25 squared is 625, and I'm multiplying, instead of 25 times 25, I'm multiplying two things that are 10 times smaller, so I get something that's going to be 10 times smaller than 625, but it's 100 times smaller. So it's going to be 625. So that is what that is. So what would you add to both sides of this? My goodness, this might be related. What would you add to both sides of this to make it equal to x plus 2.5 squared? Well, if we multiply x plus 2.5 times x plus 2.5, you're going to get x squared. You're going to get 2.5x plus 2.5x, which will be 5x. And you're going to get 6.25. Okay. What we want, another way to think about this, of course, is to take half of 5 and square it. Half of 5 is 2.5. Squaring it is 6.25. So we need the 6 to become a 6.25. So we're going to add 0.25 here. And we'll add 0.25 here. And we're going to get x squared plus 5x plus 6.25 equals 20.25, which becomes, of course, x plus 2.5 squared equals 20.25. And you may have guessed where this is going. The next question is asking you what happens if you get the square root of both sides. And then we're going to do that. We're doing that to eliminate the square over here. So we'll get the square root of this. and the square root of this. This is going to cancel the square out, and then we'll get the square root of 20.25. So that's going to become x plus 2 squared is going to just become x plus 2.5 squared is just going to become x plus 2.5. And the square root of 20.25 is 4.5. Yes, you could have used a calculator for that. That's right. Or it's also negative 4.5. And so we're going to subtract 2.5 from everything. Everything from everything. Okay. So x, let me pull down a little bit so we can see what the heck I'm doing. Okay. So x plus 2.5 becomes x. If I take 2.5 away from 4.5, I get 2. And then if I take 2.5 away from negative 4.5, I'm going to get negative 7. So x also equals negative 7. And we're done. I hope that was helpful.